Hello everyone, and welcome to Lancelot's Nerd Corner, where I am proud to present another 6-scale figure review. Today, we'll be taking a look at Batman XE Suit, Special Edition by Hot Toys, and I'm really glad to be giving you my honest and detailed account of the figure. Right off the bat, I have to admit, this figure has become one of my favorites from the Arkham line, and that's definitely true about the head sculpt. Although it's not as detailed as some of the Arkham Batman head sculpts, it still holds its own. The most standout detail is the mask, which is more of a metal plate covering the mouth area, and helps make the head sculpt look menacing. The entire cowl is painted matte black, while the mouth plate is just a shade lighter. There are a few more sculpted details on the mouth plate itself and on the sides of it. The sculpted brow makes Batman look perpetually angry, which is a common design choice, and the whited out eyes are a nice comic-esque touch. The bat ears on this figure are shorter and stouter compared to other Arkham Batmans, as seen in-game. However, they still are a bit pointy, so do be careful when handling the head sculpt. There's also a bit of weathering throughout the sculpt in the form of paint chips and scratches, and overall, the sculpt is simple but effective, especially since the XE suit as a whole is so highly detailed. Speaking of which, the XE suit gives this figure such an incredible presence and is a genuine feat of 6-scale engineering and design marvel. The figure is much heavier than your average 6-scale figure, owing to a mix of all these big hard plastic pieces throughout the suit. Similar to most Arkham Batmans, this is also one of the most intricately sculpted and detailed figures I've ever seen, and the paint job is also more realistic than what we see in-game, but that's probably just due to outdated graphics. Around the neck is a sort of metallic collar that's detailed with all kinds of screws and paint chips. It attaches down onto the chest piece, which is big and bulky and has its own lining of rivets and screws near the top. There are a couple of scratches near the bottom as well as orange lines that represent the heated coils. The whole chest piece is painted in a dark gunmetal gray with a coat of weathering to sell the metallic look. And set in the middle of the chest is a big Arkham bat symbol with a glossy finish that contrasts nicely with a more weathered metallic paint job. The chest piece is separated from the abdomen as if layered on top of it, but don't be fooled, it's not a separate joint, and the entire torso is still one fixed piece. The abdomen has sculpted padding going down the middle, with nylon belts and orange lines going across the side. And both the chest piece and abdomen armor are made of hard plastic, which are not hollow pieces by the way, making the figure very dense. The belt is fully stocked with big boxy pouches of different sizes and 2 different canisters in front. And when you look closely, the paint app on the pouches makes them look really worn and weathered, which adds a great touch of realism. The belt buckle is big and rectangular with subtle weathering of paint chipping and is painted with a glossy finish, which again provides a nice contrast to the rest of the belt. The arms are undoubtedly the most intricately detailed and designed aspect of the figure. The undersuit covering the arm is made of a nylon fabric that is cut quite thin but still tends to bunch up around the elbow when bending, slightly restricting articulation. The nylon undersuit also has black padding around the biceps, which is made of soft rubber, and has orange lines on the elbow area. The lines are obviously glued or printed on the fabric, but it becomes less obvious from afar and serve as great color accents. Moving on to the armor pieces, the wide shoulder armor is painted the same gunmetal gray as the chest, but with a lot more scratches and paint chips to really add character. The armor actually has some articulation through a hinge joint, which allows for more room to raise the arm laterally, and this kind of engineering is what I love to see from Hot Toys. The armor is attached to a set of pistons that are painted light gray with a glossy finish, and with finely sculpted details of different piston shapes and sizes. It then attaches to an orange wheel over the elbow, and there's a bit of thick padding around the bicep and tricep made of hard rubber. Continuing down the arm, the gauntlet is unsurprisingly big and bulky, and has a mix of different colors and details. There are black armor panels near the top as well as on the wrist, which has slight articulation. The mechanical inner workings in the middle are intricately sculpted, and there are nylon belts that wrap around the inner forearm. The gauntlet spikes have a unique serrated design, probably useful for breaking ice, and are painted bright silver. The gauntlet itself is quite loose-fitting and does move around a bit, but that does mean it can be adjusted easily. Lastly, the hands also have a lot of different little components with a variety of different textures and colors. There are 11 hands in total, including a pair of fists, relaxed, open palm, batarang holding, cryo drill holding, and an individual earpiece gesturing hand. The gloves are dark gray with bits of black on the fingers and palm, and a U-shaped metal plate on the back of the hand. It's topped off with orange lining on the fingers and orange dots on the palm and fingertips to ensure no amount of ice gets in Batman's way. Moving down to the lower half of the figure, the legs are the chunkiest part, thanks to a combination of some padding underneath and a thick body. It has the same black nylon undersuit as the arms, with orange lines on the groin and in the front and back of the knees. And now that we've covered every set of orange lines, it's a good time to mention that all the placements are screen accurate. Around the thighs is thick padding that have sculpted stitching in between each panel and stretch marks to add realism. You'll also notice details of huge gashes on both legs that are sculpted to really look like slashed padding. And there are small elastic garters that attach the leg armor to the belt, similar to the Arkham Batman Beyond figure. The knees have some armor over them as well, but what's cool about these is that they're actually velcroed on. You probably won't ever need to remove them, but the option is there. Probably the coolest thing about the leg design are these black bars around the knee that resemble a mechanical brace. The brace connects the thigh pads to the shin guards, and it actually articulates along with the leg when bending the knee, which is such an awesome display of 6-scale engineering. It's little things like this that show what Hot Toys is capable of when they're at their best. The shin guards are very chunky pieces that have a large angular plate in front with a matte finish and a paint job that makes the metal look very realistic. The sides and back have more details, including nylon belts and a bulky piece near the top. To finish off the chunky legs are the heavy-duty black boots. The textured material of the boot has a slight sheen to it, and there are thin metal bars jutting out on the sides. The spikes on the front and back of the boots kind of look like talons and are made of soft rubber. And although the boot is split cut, it is still quite restricted by the overhanging shin guards. Additionally, the toe box is curved upward, which lessens the overall surface area for the boot to balance the figure, and if bumped, the figure may rock forward. And since the spikes in front are only made of soft rubber, they won't be much help in catching the figure, so keep that in mind when posing. The final aspect of the XE suit is the cape. The materials are similar to the cape on the Arkham Knight Batman, with the inside made of a polyester fabric and the outside unfortunately made of pleather, which could be at risk of peeling over time. However, it does feel much lighter and also has 5 wires in total compared to only 3 on the Arkham Batman. The wires themselves also feel thinner but are much stronger, which makes posing the cape a lot easier and overall is a huge improvement over the Arkham Knight Batman cape. And if you thought the improvements in materials weren't enough, Hot Toys has one last trick up their sleeve. The cape is attached to a metal plate behind the neck that is pegged into the back of the suit and can easily be removed. That's right, they made the cape detachable. I actually don't think Batman ever removed it in the game, so while not entirely screen accurate, this shows Hot Toys' willingness to innovate and give collectors more display options. Now that we've gone over the entire figure, let's now take a look at some comparisons. Now, Arkham figures are known for being much bigger and taller than standard Hot Toys figures, so it's no surprise that the DX19 Batman comes in smaller than the XE suit. These two clearly show the difference in their armor designs, as the XE suit has a more fictionalized and video gamey feel, compared to the more realistic armored look of the DX19. And I think Hot Toys executed the design of each style incredibly well. The XE suit Batman should probably pick on someone its own size, so here he is standing next to the Arkham Knight Batman, but is still slightly taller and bulkier. This does make sense, as the XE suit clearly looks bigger in-game, but since it wasn't clear whether he puts the XE suit over his regular armor or not, this slight size difference was a safe choice. Lastly, to provide a very contrasting image, here's Batman 1966 standing next to the biggest, most badass Batman I now have in my collection. I can imagine the classic series rogues would have shit their pants if Adam West pulled up in this. Now that we've covered the entire figure and taken a look at some comparisons, let's go over all the accessories this figure comes with. The figure comes with the 11 hands that we already covered, as well as a diorama display base, cryo drill, 2 interchangeable laser drill heads, grapnel gun, 2 batarangs, and a cryptographic sequencer that is exclusive to the special edition. The diorama display base is just as incredibly well sculpted and painted as the figure it's meant to display, and it really sets a scene right out of the video game. The standard rectangular base is sculpted to look like a metal grate, with tons of weathering that brings the textures to life. There's a nameplate in front with a shiny finish, and the crotch grabber, which has much wider prongs, requires a bit of force to slot into the grate. There are 3 additional pieces, including a set of metal stairs that has textured flooring and some additional sculpted details in the corner. The railing that goes on the left of the base has tons of area with unique sculpt work, but the most standout feature is the icicles. They're sculpted so finely, with different shapes and sizes, and are semi-translucent. They're also quite pointy, so take caution when handling. Lastly, there's a big ice crystal that looks almost like a mini mountain range of ice, with different shapes, sizes, and sculpts. Hot Toys did a great job with this display base, and it really adds to the shelf presence of a figure that already commands a lot of it. The cryo drill is another accessory that helps set the scene and acts almost like another diorama piece, which does seem appropriate considering half of the main quest was assembling the damn thing. It's made of hard plastic, with sculpt work that's just as finely detailed as the figure. It's also got loads of weathering on every part of the drill, most especially on the handles, and there's a bit of articulation in the middle portion, which spins 360 degrees. The big spike in front is quite pointy as it's made of hard plastic, while the smaller spikes on the side are made of soft rubber. You can even see that one of the spikes, unfortunately, got bent out of shape in the packaging, so do look out for that. The cryo drill also comes with 2 interchangeable laser drill heads, one shorter and one extended. Both are sculpted and painted well, but the extended one gets to show off more. The long metal bar in front has a sculpted texture and is very weathered. The pink laser is the icing on top and adds a lot of character and screen accuracy to the piece. There is also a swappable laser effect for both drill heads. Finally, both drill heads are pegged into the cryo drill with different sized pegs, so you can easily tell which way it's meant to face. Both the grapnel gun and batarangs are virtually identical to previous Arkham Batman releases, so there really isn't much to write home about. And finally, we have the cryptographic sequencer, which I mentioned is exclusive to the special edition. Unfortunately, this is the most disappointing aspect of the set. The flat paint job and lack of weathering make it look completely lackluster compared to the other pieces, and to make matters worse, you have to stick these stickers onto the clear plastic screen yourself. So overall, I don't think this piece was worth the extra money at all, and I doubt you'll be missing out if you just stick to the standard version. To finish up, let's go over the surprisingly good articulation of the figure. Starting with the head sculpt, which is nice and stiff, It can tilt up a good amount, but can barely tilt down. It can slightly tilt side to side, and has lots of room to swivel side to side. The arms have a tiny amount of bicep swivel. They can raise laterally around 80 degrees, can swing forward and backward to 90 degrees, and the elbow can bend to just about 90. The torso is one fixed piece, but it can actually tilt forward a good amount, with virtually no tilt backward. The legs have a slight amount of thigh swivel. They can raise laterally to around 40 degrees. They can only swing forward and backward around 30, and the knees can bend to just about 90. Lastly, the split cut boots make me very happy as they allow for full range of motion, but unfortunately, the ankles are still a bit restricted. Taking into account the amount of detail required to be screen accurate, the quality of the Sculpt and Paint app, the bits of engineering, the sheer size, and the relative obscurity of this particular batsuit, I would say this figure was a very big swing for Hot Toys. And my oh my, did they absolutely knock it out of the park. What this figure represents is Hot Toys' dedication to improving upon previous releases, their mastery of high-quality sculpt work and paint app, and their willingness to continue innovating in the 6-scale space. If you're a fan of the game or are even remotely a Batman fan, I think you will be amazed at how good this Batman XE suit is. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this review helpful, please feel free to like and subscribe. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video.